during dinner at a restaurant, my mother-in-law made some incredibly hurtful comments, insinuating that I didn't belong there simply because I wasn't family by blood. Her words stung, and I felt a wave of undervaluation wash over me, igniting an overwhelming urge to leave right away. As I stood up to go, she coldly demanded that I pay for the meal since I was leaving early, but feeling mistreated, I firmly refused to cover someone else's dinner. I'm Samantha, and I work in an office. My husband, Peter, and I usually enjoy a happy marriage, but there's a major hurdle: his mother. She constantly criticizes me and meddles in our lives. Although I've shared my feelings with Peter, he remains oblivious, convinced that her behavior is merely a sign of her affection. Over time, her intrusions escalated. She had a key to our house, courtesy of Peter, and would waltz in unannounced, nitpicking my housekeeping and spreading baseless rumors about me to our neighbors. I begged Peter to consider moving somewhere else, but he was too wrapped up in work to address the issue. Then came a turning point when Peter landed a significant promotion and a hefty raise after completing a major project. Seeing this as a chance for a fresh start, I suggested we think about starting a family now that we were more financially secure. I hoped this would help him recognize the negative influence his mother was having on our lives and the need for change. However, Peter saw things differently. He thought it would be better for us to live in a family-friendly town with plenty of daycare options and parks, rather than our current area. After some discussion, he agreed to move, which delighted me even more than his promotion, but my excitement was short-lived. The very next day, my mother-in-law showed up unannounced. As was her routine, I braced myself for her usual criticisms, but her demeanor was different this time. She had come to celebrate my son's recent professional success and had reserved a table at a fancy restaurant known for its exquisite food and service. It's posh, and everyone raves about it, she said, inviting me to join. That sounds lovely, congratulations, I replied, keeping my tone polite despite my lingering frustrations. Clear your schedule, I really want you to come, she insisted, brushing aside my subtle attempt to decline. Don't say no, we want you there, she added, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. With a smirk, she departed, leaving me puzzled. In the past, she had often excluded me, but now she was not only inviting me but also demanding my presence. Sensing something was off, I later spoke to Peter about it. He revealed that he had already agreed with his mother that we would attend together. She had specifically chosen this restaurant for a family celebration. This unexpected development left me conflicted about her true intentions and our upcoming family dinner. Peter was genuinely excited about the event. Aren't you looking forward to it, Samantha? He asked, but my feelings were far from his. I'm sorry, but I'm not thrilled. I'm worried about how much this dinner is going to cost at such an upscale restaurant. I really don't want to go. Just tell them I have an urgent matter and enjoy yourselves, I replied, my discomfort growing. Why are you being so negative? It's not just us. My brothers and their wives will be there too. It would look bad if you didn't join the whole family, he countered, clearly eager for the experience of dining in such a fancy place for the first time. Despite my reluctance, I felt the pressure to attend. It seemed that Peter was siding more with his mother than with me. This lack of support pushed me to take a drastic step. I ordered a voice recorder online, suspecting that the harassment from my mother-in-law wouldn't end with the celebration. My plan was to discreetly capture her behavior, hoping to finally make Peter see the reality of the situation. If he continued to dismiss my concerns, I even contemplated divorce as a last resort, and just considering that possibility brought me a slight sense of relief. As the day of the dinner approached, I felt more apprehensive than excited. I barely knew Peter's brothers, having only met them briefly at our wedding, and my interactions with their wives had never gone beyond polite small talk. When we arrived at the restaurant, the waiter led us to a large private room where my mother-in-law, Peter's other brother, and his wife were already seated. At the table, all of Peter's siblings and their wives were already positioned, leaving just one empty chair. Peter looked puzzled. Did they make a mistake with the seating? He wondered aloud. I'll check with the waiter. Go ahead and start without me, he said, stepping out. The moment he left, my mother-in-law stood up, her face set in a harsh expression. There's no seat for you. Why would I invite a stranger who just married my son to a family gathering? She sneered. So here's the deal, if you want to be part of this family, prove it, otherwise, leave and don't come back. Without hesitation, I replied, I'm leaving. She looked momentarily stunned, perhaps expecting me to beg for her approval. Undeterred, she pressed on. Listen to me carefully, she said, her tone sharp. If you pay the entire bill for everyone here, then I'll acknowledge you as Peter's wife. I'm sure you're feeling like an outsider, so pay up and earn your place in this family. I already told you I'm leaving. Why should I pay for a meal at a gathering I'm not even welcome at? I shot back, turning to exit. She slammed her hand on the table, raising her voice. Do you really want to be seen as a stranger? This is your chance to prove yourself. Pay up. No, I'm perfectly fine being an outsider, I said with finality, and since I'm not family, I won't be paying for this dinner. Goodbye, mother-in-law. I walked out without looking back. I could hear her footsteps as she tried to follow me, but by the time she reached the door, I was already heading toward the exit, leaving behind the tense atmosphere and the oppressive dinner. Once outside, I decided to go home and send Peter a detailed email explaining everything that had happened. To my surprise, he arrived home just 15 minutes later. He told me that the waiter had confirmed there was no error with the seating. My mother-in-law had deliberately set things up to create a scene. My stand had unexpectedly sparked a ripple effect. Peter's brothers' wives, who had endured similar treatment, found strength in my actions and left the restaurant as well, prompting their husbands to follow in solidarity. As expected, the backlash came swiftly. Within hours, my mother-in-law began calling me nonstop. The ringing was relentless until I finally blocked her number, but one call managed to slip through, this time from an unknown number. "Hello, is this Samantha?" a man's voice asked. He introduced himself as a police officer from a nearby station. He explained that after everyone had left, my mother-in-law continued dining and then, in a shocking twist, tried to have the bill charged to me. However, the restaurant staff, unimpressed by her earlier behavior, refused her request. They doubted I would return, given how upset I'd been when I left. Without a way to pay, my mother-in-law was advised to settle the bill with a credit card, but she had neither a card nor enough cash. Frustrated, she tried to call various family members for help, but no one responded. Her anger boiled over, and she began damaging the restaurant's property, smashing decorative vases and flower pots in her fury. The staff, unable to manage her outburst, called the police. By the time the officers arrived, they managed to calm her somewhat, but she remained stubbornly defiant. With the bill unpaid and no solution in sight, the restaurant requested that she be escorted out. Feeling a responsibility to address the situation, Peter and I returned to the restaurant, finding the police still attempting to manage her erratic behavior. As soon as she saw me, she shouted, "This is your fault. If you just paid the bill, none of this would have happened. Don't you know it's your duty to help your family? Pay up now." I was taken aback by her almost threatening tone, especially in front of law enforcement. The officers informed us that if no one took responsibility, they would either escort her to a family member's home in a patrol car or arrest her for attempting to leave without paying the bill. Exasperated and resolute, I responded, "Please, do whatever you need to. She should be held accountable." My mother-in-law looked stunned. "How can you be so heartless? It's bad luck to let a family member get arrested," she pleaded, but my mind was made up. "I don't care, I'm not family, and I won't support someone who's acting like this," I replied, turning to leave, leaving her to deal with the consequences of her actions. Just then, my husband, who had been silent, spoke up. "I get that this was awful for Samantha, but is it really worth getting her arrested?" he asked, his tone almost protective of his mother. "You're missing the point," I retorted. "She's in this situation because she tried to leave without paying and caused a scene. Or are you saying I should cover a bill for 7 people when I didn't even eat?" My husband went quiet, but then, to my disbelief, walked past me toward the police and restaurant staff. Sensing what he was about to do, I called after him, "If you pay for her meal and cover this, we're getting a divorce. Think about that." He didn't respond, only taking out his wallet. Feeling hurt and betrayed, I left the restaurant and walked home. Once there, I started packing essential belongings, ready to leave. Around midnight, my husband finally arrived. "She's not getting arrested," he said wearily. "It turns out the restaurant agreed to let it go if I paid for the damages and promised she'd never return. I didn't have enough, so my brothers came to help. I'm exhausted," he muttered, frustrated at my silence. Finally, he noticed my packed bags and looked confused. "Why are these bags here?" he asked. "I'm leaving," I said, my decision final. "Because we're getting a divorce," I added. "I told you if you sided with her, it was over. You can't say you didn't hear me." He looked stunned, eyes wide in disbelief before his expression shifted, and he began to protest. "What's going on? Yes, I know what Mom did was wrong, but why does this have to lead to divorce?" "I've told you repeatedly that I'm being mistreated," I replied, exasperated. "Even with everything that happened tonight, you still chose your mother over me. How am I supposed to stay married to someone who does that?" He continued to protest, but I had reached my limit. The next morning, I went to obtain the divorce papers. When I handed them to him, he made a scene, claiming he didn't want a divorce, but when I mentioned involving a lawyer, he reluctantly signed. I sent off the papers, finally marking the end of our marriage, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief and freedom. Eventually, he moved out and returned to his parents' home. Without me, he struggled with household responsibilities, and the apartment quickly fell into disarray. Frustrated by the mess, he ended the lease and settled back in with his family. I, on the other hand, found a renewed sense of peace and independence, ready to move forward without the weight of his family's toxicity. A similar situation unfolded for the eldest and third brothers. When my husband called them for financial help to cover the restaurant fiasco, they both ran into serious conflicts with their wives, who refused to pay for the mess their mother-in-law had caused. These tensions revealed deeper unresolved issues, showing that my experience with their mother's behavior was part of a much larger pattern. Despite their wives' protests, the brothers decided to dip into their own savings to help their mother, without even consulting their spouses. This sparked heated arguments and put a chill over their marriages, leading to serious talks of separation. Eventually, both brothers left their homes and returned to live with their parents, and, like their mother, they refused to do any housework. This culminated in all three sons, along with their mother, moving back to their parents' house. The family drama quickly became a neighborhood spectacle, fueling gossip. Rumors spread that the wives had abandoned the brothers. True to form, my mother-in-law defended her sons, placing all the blame for the family's troubles on her daughters-in-law. When I heard about this, I couldn't help but feel relieved about my choice. Despite the rumors, my relationship with the neighbors remained warm. Many already knew my mother-in-law's reputation, keeping a respectful distance and occasionally sharing a quiet laugh about her antics. Over time, my mother-in-law earned a reputation in the neighborhood as a parent who hadn't equipped her sons to stand on their own. My ex-husband and his brothers were labeled "mama's boys," criticized for choosing their mother's whims over their wives. Despite a few attempts to reach out to me, I took steps to close that chapter for good. I changed my contact information and moved into a new home, ensuring they couldn't find me. With that, I finally secured my peace and began a fresh chapter away from the chaos. Since cutting ties with my mother-in-law and her family, my life has transformed for the better. The relief of leaving behind the drama she brought into my life has been immense. I've made new friends who bring joy and stability into my days. During the difficult period of my divorce, I found unexpected camaraderie with my former brothers-in-law's ex-wives. We bonded over our shared experiences with my mother-in-law, and these friendships have become a true blessing. We often meet up for meals and enjoy weekend shopping trips together. In a strange way, I have my ex-husband to thank for introducing me to these wonderful women. In just a few days, we're all planning to try out a new cafe in town. It feels so refreshing to do things we truly enjoy, free from the shadow of toxic relationships. This newfound freedom is exhilarating. I'm living the life I've always wanted, surrounded by friends who uplift and support me. I often think about how different my life would be without these friendships. They filled a void I didn't even know existed, and for that, I'm profoundly grateful. I cherish these bonds deeply and hope they last a lifetime, as they've truly redefined what it means to have genuine, supportive relationships.